Zidon Daney, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. I am here with my fellow host.
I'm Jack, and this is Nerd Chat.
Yep, we're doing Nerd Chat again. Oh,
Well, you said Electro Ninja's Lab, not Nerd Chat, so I
yep.
had to, make
Yeah,
it
fair
clear.
enough. I've been streaming too much lately, I guess. So I'm just used to saying
Yes,
Electro Ninja's Lab and not saying what else I'm doing.
that's
Yeah.
fair. Yes.
But yeah, so today I'm going to mostly be telling Jack all about the different games that he needs to play at some point.
So to preface this, I have a rule because I'm autistic and have pathological demand avoidance. My rule, and severe ADHD. I'm a bag of cats. Anyway, so because I'm a bag of cats, my general rule is that the more you tell me to watch something, play something, do something, the less I'm going to do it.
Indeed.
And if you want me to watch, do, play anything, your best bet is to talk about how great you think it is, and then maybe I'll become
Indeed.
interested. However, Zephram is like most everyone else on the planet, and would like to tell me what games that he thinks that I should play, and shows that he thinks I should watch, which is totally valid. And so here's his chance to do that when typically it would make me
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
and
So,
all of you guys should also read, play, watch any of these. They're great. So first off, might as well talk about the game that I've been playing the most, and obviously I've been live streaming this like crazy. Final Fantasy 14.
Final Fantasy
Yes.
14.
Granted, you should play every single Final Fantasy at some point because they're all good. But 14 is one of those that I really think that everyone should play because it is the MMO, and it's the game that is constantly being updated. So and
Yeah.
it's something that you can play with your friends.
That's cool.
So there's that. Yeah.
That's good.
So
We like that.
So Final Fantasy 14 is kind of insane because basically it's something that I don't really see too many MMOs doing, where basically you have to go through the entire story of the entire game in order to see everything. You can't just be like, oh, let me just level up like crazy and then go do this other quest. Let me go.
No, you got to do it
Yeah,
step
pretty
by
much.
step.
So you.
I kind of like that. I mean, I've been playing Pokemon Sword, or excuse me, Shield, which is back to that
Yeah.
general way of doing stuff. So
Yeah. So basically, the way that it starts is that you choose one of your classes, and that first class basically determines where you start out, and it's one of 3 cities, and then all three you visit the other 3 cities at the near the end of that quest line, and then everything is just in a straight line. You follow that quest all the way through, and basically the first.
It sounds
Yeah.
kind of like Snack World.
I'm not sure what.
And I know you haven't played. Nobody has ever played Snack World because it's the most stupid game on the planet. But I fucking love it. But yeah, no, that's the same thing there, where you have to go in order, but in order to go in order, it's all the same quest, but it's also definitely not all the same quest. It's hard to exactly explain.
So yeah, so the MSQ, or the main story quest, basically each expansion basically continues the story. So technically there was the 1.0 stuff is lost to time at this point because it was really bad. So
Okay.
beyond that, you don't need to know anything about it because you never will. Basically, all that you know about it is that something. Well, it exists, but it doesn't exist. It happened in the world, but at the same time, very few people played that, and very few people actually. No one enjoyed it. There was a lot of things that were very bad about it. Yeah.
That's so sad.
So basically, that section was basic. It's explained a lot in like the videos and stuff like that, as well as people will discuss certain things that happened during that. basically there was a big war between Garlemald and the main three cities that you are in, and that basically destroyed the world. And Bahamut was summoned, and big bad explosion. Two of the main characters, Grandpa died, so on and so forth. In order to save the world, he sacrificed himself. A lot of this is explained in side quests and stuff like that, and especially if you go and do the Bahamut quest line. But
Yeah.
a lot of people don't play through that because it's kind of in a weird situation, anyways. So yeah, you go through all of that. You go through the MSQ through the first part of it, and in the first part, you're Garlemald is attacking again, and you have to and there's also these people called the Ascians. They're very important as you continue on with the story.
The
Yes,
Ascians?
Ascian. Yes.
Come on. Come on. That's like worse than the Navy calling their sailors seamen. They did dirty on there.
Basically,
What?
they're bad.
Ascian?
They're
No.
so yeah, they're the Ascians, and they are basically Organization 13 from Kingdom Hearts. Basically,
That doesn't mean anything. to
they're
me.
basically these evil, maniacal people, and they want to destroy the world. A lot more of their story is explained
nice,
later
nice.
in subsequent expansions. And
Uh-huh.
basically, at the end of this, you defeat a specific group of people from Garlemald, and they flee with their tail between their legs. Near the end of this, however, the end of that the MSQ for the first expansion, you are framed for murder of
Okay.
the
super.
queen of one of the three cities. And you have to go and you have to flee
Nice.
north to I'm forgetting what the country is called, but basically it's some other country, and that's basically the whole point of the next expansion. Spoiler alert: the queen is not dead. But yeah,
Oh.
so she's not dead. But so your name gets cleared and all that through going through that story. But basically, you're trying to fight this big bad dragon, who is basically the son of like the two biggest dragons that have ever existed.
Nice.
Basically, he is taking over the heart and soul of the dragoon. One of another main character. His name is Estinian, and he's basically a dragoon, and he's really important as the story continues. I'm not going to spoil too much about Heavensward or the remaining ones, but basically that's what the whole point of that one is that you're facing off against this big bad dragon. Then is Stormblood, which that was the one where I got into it, and basically in Stormblood, you're there's some reveals that happen, but basically you're trying to save these two countries, Ala Mhigo and the Far East, which I'm forgetting what their actual name is, but that's basically what it is. It's basically China and Japan equivalents. So
Gotcha.
so that's what the Far East is, and then you're trying to save Ala Mhigo, which is a desert country, kind of like Egypt to a certain degree. Spoiler alert: the entire world is basically it looks a lot like the real world. So certain things have very similar things with it. But basically, you're saving these two areas.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them have been invaded by Garlemald, and you're trying to save them from the chaos that has ensued. So rather than going to Garlemald and saving the day in the next expansion, which is Shadowbringers, instead you go to another world.
Oh, obviously.
Basically,
Yeah, sure.
that so while your world, the main world, is basically fighting darkness, and darkness is destroying the world, little by little. In this other world, light has completely destroyed the world, and so basically you have to use the power of darkness in order to save that world. and stuff along those lines. You still use the power of light. It's a little bit of both. Um,
That's actually really cool because it brings it tells, I guess not, maybe kids aren't playing this game, but the idea is like, the dark doesn't mean evil. Dark just means
yeah,
not
exactly.
light.
And like
Yeah, I like
there
that.
are
That's
certain
kind of
things
cool.
with that, and I don't want to go into all of the details with that, but that there is that. So that's Shadowbringers, and basically your whole point in that is, like I said,
This is still Final Fantasy
yes,
14
this is all
you're
one
talking about?
game. I'm going over a lot of it because there's a lot that each expansion is practically its own thing. So then there's Endwalker, and that's
No, I
basic.
know. But so can you start from the beginning as it stands
Yes,
right now? Like if I
you
went and
would
got the
start at the
game,
very
could I start
beginning
from
and
the
go through
beginning?
that.
Okay.
That's why I'm not spoiling very much. I'm basically just giving you a quick summary of what these things are, and not like
I mean,
yeah.
not spoilers,
It's also for the people who
but
are
I don't care.
watching the video.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm just
So,
saying.
Endwalker is basically the conclusion of the Ascian arc. Basically, all of the Ascians are defeated, or Garlemald is defeated. All of that jazz.
That's
That's all completed in this. There's a lot more to it than that. I don't want to because, and that's a lot of that is really in depth, and I really don't want to spoil that stuff. It's very different than what you might expect right off the bat, but basically you're finishing off everything. This is the final arc, basically of basically everything that has happened up to that point. You are finishing it. That is what Endwalker is. Endwalker is basically the conclusion of this entire arc that you have been on, from all of the previous expansions. And then there's Dawntrail, which is probably one of the most political arcs that I've ever seen in really anything. Um, basically, at the end of Endwalker, you meet this girl, this young woman, I should say, who is basically she wants to be the rule. She is the daughter of the current ruler of this nation. That's basically the Americas, and she is and she along with her brothers and one other person are basically they are going to be competing to win the throne. Um, and
See.
basically that is the whole point of this expansion. And a lot of what you're seeing is what each of them do good and what each of them do bad. And um, for her, she really wants to preserve the peace of the nation. She wants to learn more about the people, but but her problem is that she is young, she is inexperienced, she doesn't necessarily know how to do these things, and she doesn't fully understand the culture of her people. Even though
Sure.
she thought that she knew a lot before everything happened, but
Isn't
yeah,
that
pretty
how it
much.
works?
So that's kind of that's her arc. Her brother is very much into technology. He wants to bring the technology from the rest of the world and bring it to this world. But in doing so, he's often doing things that are not necessarily harmful, but they one of the best examples, and this is early, so it's not like super spoilery, but she does something to that basically involves the entire population, delves into the culture and all that jazz in order to help out with this specific part of the quest. He, on the other hand, goes to his friends, creates a concoction that will fix the problem right away, lickety split, and it's he's basically a lot of what he is doing is a lot of discussion along the lines of AI that is currently happening, and how AI has
Oh,
been
okay.
has goes a little bit goes too far, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And it's basically a metaphor for a lot of that. Their other brother basically wants to start a war. Again, I don't know too much about him, so I'm not and a lot so a lot of that would be spoilers, so I'm not going to go into that. And then the final guy just wants
Okay.
power, and the only reason that he is even in line for the throne is because he has two heads, and his people always have for a long time seen two heads as better than one, and he should be he should be the ruler. That's as much as it goes. He's very much one note. He is just out for power.
Wow,
yeah.
that is bizarre.
So there's that. That is Final Fantasy 14 at this point in time. There's a lot. Obviously, I skipped over a lot. Most of that is just stuff that you can learn through watching the trailers and stuff like that. So be aware of that. Pretty much nothing that I said in this is actually spoilers. Pretty much everyone knew all. Like you look up anything about the game, you will find out all of this. So yeah.
Okay.
That's mostly for the people back who are watching this video, because I know that many of you guys don't want to be dealing with spoilers. So there's that. So next I kind of want to talk about my adventures with Superman. So you mostly so for the audience's advantage, what DC shows do you like? What heroes do you like? What heroes do you like?
DC heroes, not many.
Pretty much just Aquaman, right?
Pretty much just Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
So basically,
Yeah.
My Adventures with Superman is a love story between Lois Lane and Superman, and that's pretty much all it is. And it's basically the first season is a lot about them getting to know each other. It's very rarely do you see a good Clark in a lot of like DC shows and stuff like that. But this is one of those where Clark is the hero, and you can see him as being Clark. And you see how much Clark is Superman. Like they are so so connected. It's actually insane.
I mean, they're the same person.
There's a slight difference. It's not like obviously Batman just wears the mask of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, and Superman just takes off the glasses. What?
But basically, so a lot of them basically, they just show Superman being Superman. They don't necessarily show him being Clark. This shows a lot more of that. And a lot of the early stuff with that, he's not really being Superman. He's more of like, he's discovering his powers and stuff like that. And like he knew he had powers, but he was also very he didn't use them when he was young and stuff like that. And that's basically what a lot of My Adventures with Superman is, as well as him and Lois growing closer. It's very cute. It deals a lot with like a lot of the big problems that a lot of people have with a lot of Superman media and things that rip off Superman, where they they discuss about the idea of Superman turning evil and stuff like that, and how that's not who he is at all. While Superman sometimes does turn evil in certain series, in who he is as a person is that he cares about people and so on and so forth. And that's a lot of what this show is, and it's just a lot of fun. Also, Lois Lane looks like Luz from Owl House, so and everyone talks about that's like one of the first things that everyone was saying when it first came out is, Lois looks like Luz. Luz, yeah, however you want to pronounce it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is a correct pronunciation.
To be fair, people will say, even in the show, they say it both ways.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's mostly an accent thing.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, absolutely watch it. It's great. Love it. All right, what should I tell you about next? Oh, Fireborn. For the briefest explanation, Fireborn is,
oh dear God,
child-friendly Witcher.
Sure. Yeah.
I've said that before, and I will probably say it 100 times more because it works. It's a good explanation of what it is. It is only 3 books long. And it's basically it's Fireborn, Phoenix in the Frost Palace, and then Fireborn, Starling, and the Cavern of Light, and that's basically all it is. It's basically about this young girl who becomes a hunter who hunts monsters, and her friends also at the hunting lodge, and how she deeply blames the cave clan of this specific book, and wants to take revenge. Turns out her friend is also a member of the Cave Clan, and chaos ensues. But basically, a lot of it is hunting. There's a giant stone dog. Like that's literally on the front cover is a stone dog. She has a squirrel as a companion. There is a fire fairy that's also a companion. They all have numbers for their first names near the beginning of the book. Starling was her original name. Phoenix is her name that she takes on after she becomes a hunter. Just so that's clear. And yeah, it's a simple series, but it's still something that I think that a lot of people should read because it's a lot of fun. So yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna since apparently you've never watched Danny Phantom, correct? Okay, so first
Nope.
off is Danny Phantom is created by the same guy who made Fairly Odd Parents.
Right.
And he.
Yeah. Don't ask me why I was allowed to watch that one. I will
Fair
never
enough.
be able to explain that.
But and he is a Christian, but it's kind of hard to realize that at certain points. But this is Butch Hartman, yeah. So yeah, he is a Christian. His current show is literally very much a Christian series. It's called In the Garden or something like that. So yeah, he doesn't talk too much about it. But one of my favorite lines throughout the series is by this guy who can basically see through time, and I've even before I found out that Butch Hartman was a Christian, I used this his analogy for how this guy sees time as basically my idea of how God sees time. Basically, what he says is that to mortals, we are in the parade. We're basically and to these other people who can see through time and all that stuff, they are on the sidelines. They are seeing where the parade is going currently and where it came from. That's all they see. But
Makes sense.
exactly. But the time, and basically time is the parade, just so that's clear. And then this guy, he sees time from above, seeing all of the twists and turns that it could possibly make, and like I said, I love this analogy. It's so good of an explanation because even all these little things that could change how our lives work, every single piece leads to different things, and eventually you will get to you'll get to a certain point, and well, this guy and God both see time as the path, all of the different paths, and how they will lead you to the correct path. So there's that. it's really good. But pretty much it's just a ghost fighting series, and that's I love it. Yeah.
Danny Phantom is.
There's all sorts of little things like that, that are really, you don't think about them. You may not necessarily think about them when you're watching the show, but looking back at the series after you know that Butch Hartman is a Christian, you see a lot of these little aspects of several all of the good ghosts throughout the series are very much like some of them are practically a portrayal of God, and the evil ghosts are often portrayals of what he imagines the devil to be, and stuff like that. Um,
Or
yeah,
demons and
exactly.
angels, maybe. Yeah.
And like I said, it's baffling all of the things that he's put in there. One of the things that he did put in there is a map in the show that will Danny and his friends, they get it, and they accidentally take it back home. They were supposed to go with with the guy who gave them the map to go back home, and then chaos happens, so on and so forth, and eventually they the map is taken by their arch nemesis Vlad Plasmius, who sadly his actor just passed away not too long ago. That was, let me make sure that I'm saying his name right. It's in the Nerd Chat Awards. So that was Martin Mull is Vlad Plasmius. So yeah, so he was he was basically he gets a hold of the map, and he uses and basically he wants to use the map to take him to his destiny so that he can rule over the ghosts and all of that, or rule over something. He's always been kind of like, I want to rule, I want to be in control of everything. And the map keeps taking him to these places, and he thinks that he's going to be able to rule, but he's never able to. And Danny and his team are always able to catch up to him. And the map, he basically, when eventually the map takes him to the Far Frozen, who are the people who are supposed to be in control of the map, they basically explain that sometimes the map will just take you where you need to go, and will, and sometimes it does. It's not clear exactly where that is, but when it does, you'll understand. And pretty much,
so
yes.
All right, cool.
It's basically a lot of analogies, and I kind of love it. Exactly, and that's a lot of what this is, but it's also just a whole bunch of chaos happening. Like I said,
nice.
Keep in mind this is the guy who made Fairly Odd Parents, and a lot of his
Sure.
style is still in there. There's like the time travel stuff. Basically, Danny faces off against his evil older self, and that's the whole point of that long episode. It's like I think it's like a 2-parter or something like that, or it might just be like an hour-long episode or something like that. It was I think it was supposed to be the series finale, and then they got one more season. Which that season is kind of seen by a lot of people as not that good. But to me, I still absolutely love that season, because a lot near the end of it, basically the whole point of it is that Danny needs to reveal his identity to the world, and he becomes the hero of he saves the world, and I still love that the final episode. It's so good, but a lot some people when I like look at message boards and stuff like that about it, a lot of times they're just like, it's kind of shit, and it's like, really? That was like one of the better ones. I'd say that probably season 2 is the best of the 3 seasons. There's only 3. So you can get it done with pretty quickly, and then at some point read the comic, which is A Glitch in Time. I think it's not I think that he's involved. Butch Hartman was involved with it, but it's not too much. But this was recent, so keep in mind of that. But this takes place at the after everything has happened, and it deals with a lot of basically at the end of the stuff with the space stuff or the time stuff. there is a moment where Danny's evil future self smashes his head into the thermos that captures the ghosts, and it's implied that eventually he's going to escape. This is basically the explaining exactly what happened there. So, yeah, eventually he does break out, and that's what the comic is. So, yeah, so that there's that. At some point, absolutely watch it. It's great.
It's
Yeah.
not short. Yeah, that's.
Um,
Where is it located?
it was on Hulu. I think it's on It might either be on Netflix or Disney now. Let me take a look here.
Interesting. Okay.
Last I checked, it was on Netflix. So let me make sure. I haven't watched it in a few years though, so keep that in mind.
Sure.
Danny Phantom. No, it is not on there right now. It is not on Netflix, so it might be Disney. Boop.
Let's see.
If it's on Hulu again, though, that definitely means that it's on there. All else fails, it might just be fucking Paramount Plus.
Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paramount Plus.
That sucks.
That's right. I have Paramount Plus. I
Yeah,
have
it
Paramount
still
Plus.
sucks though. Paramount Plus is kind of shitty.
Eh,
Yeah,
they have
sometimes.
some good shows. Ghosts is
I have
on
no
there.
idea what that is.
Both of them. Oh, it's there's a UK version and a US version of Ghosts, and basically what happens is this lady, she inherits
that
a house like from a it's from like an estranged aunt, and
Yeah. I've seen clips of that.
she falls down the stairs and like bumps her head, and now she can see ghosts and shit, and yeah, it's really funny. The British one is more drama comedy than it is anything else, and then the American one is, of course, just pure stupid comedy. But I love them both. And the British humor sometimes is just like so much better in some ways because you're just like, that's so fucking dry. Like it's so like and it's not dry humor like the U.S. version of The Office tries to do dry humor, because that's just stupid and not funny. But like it's the dry humor where the guy will say something with like a deadpan expression, but you know full well that it's like him being a dick, or him being hilarious or something. You know, like
Yeah, I
don't
get it.
know.
I
Hard to
kind of
explain.
get it. I did. I have watched like bits and pieces of that. I do need to watch it at some point.
It's a good watch if you just like want something to not really like put too much effort into watching. You know what I mean? Like not a lot of brain power going into watching that one.
So, what I'm about to suggest to you is a pain in the ass to figure out what you're looking for.
Dear God.
Primarily because of how you may decide to watch it. Firstly, the most likely option that you are going to find is either the manga or the light novel, in which case it will be called Apparently Disillusioned Adventurers Will Save the World. If you watch the anime, it is called Ningen Fushin. And it does have a longer title than that, but that's basically what you will look up if you look it up on Crunchyroll. It's so basically, this is a show about dirtbags, kind of, sort of. Basically, they're not dirtbags; they're just all broken people. Is basically the actual, huh?
Or it's the Cape. So it's the old show, The Cape, where it's the circus of crime, but they're not really.
Well,
actually all
they're
that
not bad. They're let me. I think I made it sound a lot worse than it actually is. They're not bad guys at all. Yeah. So basically,
So not like.
So basically, Ningen Fushin I'm just gonna call it that because that's the easier way to say it, than saying apparently disillusioned adventurers will save the world. So we're just gonna call it Ningen Fushin. Um, so
All
so
right.
basically, Ningen Fushin is about these four people who get royally fucked over. Um, so the main character is this guy whose girlfriend breaks up with him, and his entire party completely abandons him, destroys his entire life, all that jazz. Um, Basically, they're assholes.
Okay.
Let's just leave it at that. Um, so they just royally fuck him over, and he becomes depressed, and he loses all of his money by going to an idol's concert, and then he basically just becomes completely obsessed with this idol. Um, I
I think you
probably
told me
have.
about this.
It is a fantasy series with an idol for some reason. Then there is this other girl who basically she left home, kind of felt or had some issues with her magical school, to the point where she was kicked out of her magical school for reasons that are really dumb. Basically, uh, one of her teachers was being a creep, and and she would not stand it. So and rather than listen to her, she the principal and stuff like that kicked her out of the school. It gets worse.
Wow.
There's that. Then there's the priest, um, which he
Oh,
got
good, a
falsely
priest.
accused of doing the thing that priests are often have been accused of.
Doing what priests do. Okay.
Yes.
Falsely accused. All right.
Yeah. Um, we'll leave it at that. It's uh, obviously those who know what we're talking about. Um, and basically, yeah, he was falsely accused of that. He is innocent. And basically he is from that point onward he loses himself, and he starts going to brothels and stuff because there's like he's completely lost his way. He doesn't believe in the church anymore. He may have he may still have the priestly powers because again this is a fantasy series.
Yeah.
But he's yeah, that's basically what he's done. Um, and and then finally there's the final girl, and she basically um, she got poisoned when she was in a dungeon with her party, and her party completely abandoned her to die.
Oh, delightful.
Yeah. It was bad. Let's just so she tries to go back after them afterwards, and they just treat her like dirt. They act like they've never seen her, and all sorts of things like that. And she had a crush on like the leader of the group as well, so that's another problem. Um, so anyways, all four of these characters, um, did I say what the girl who was at the school ended up doing? She ended up gambling.
No.
So that's basic. And lost all of her money to
Oh.
gambling. Basically, all four of these characters have lost money, whether it be to an idol, to a brothel, to gambling, or to food. In the case of the girl who was obsessed with her party, who got kicked out of her party, and poisoned. Um, so they've all lost their
Sure.
lost all of their money, and they need to find a new group. So they happen to go to this one tavern completely coincidentally. They all get sat together because they're all alone, and they all unanimously agree that the world sucks and they don't want to deal with it anymore. And because of the fact that they realize that all four of them hate the world, they decide to team up as a group to basically get money, and then they would work together to make sure that they all get enough money so that they can continue to feed their bad addictions. Um, But
That's
I,
funny. They're like, yeah, our coping skills aren't healthy. Let's band together to pay for them.
exactly.
I love it. 10 out of 10.
That's basically what it all is.
I love it. They're like, instead of getting healthy, we're just gonna
Yeah.
do it together.
But
It's gonna be great. Community while we
but
suck.
as the
Yay!
series continues, they slowly become better and better, and they make each other better and better as the story, like I said, as the story continues, and it's so cute and wholesome. Like once you actually get past finding out what every single one of them did to get, or every single one of them got fucked up.
You know what's kind of interesting? It sounds like the anime version of The Great Divorce.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've seen that.
Have you ever
No.
read? So The Great Divorce, it's not anything you would have seen. It's an old. I say that because I'm 25, right? Older. It's a C.S. Lewis book that he wrote. One of his theological books. Wherein the characters he's talking about have been riding this bus, and they exit the bus, and they are given the option. They can either hold on to that which has kept them here. This is basically a middle ground between heaven and hell. And they can hold on to whatever has kept them here, the vice that they have. For instance, the main, like, the guy who's discussed the most is he has a lizard who is attached to his shoulder, and he can either get rid of that lizard, which represents, I believe he said it represented a pornography addiction, but I can't remember exactly. But the different things that are attached to them represent the different vices that they have, and they have the opportunity. They can either say, cast off that vice, or they can keep it. And some of them end up banding together to keep their vices and stay in this middle world and all this kind of stuff. And it's interesting. And some of them, the point of the book is going to be that you cast off the
So
vice and go
Pilgrim's
to heaven.
Progress,
But
got it.
I kind of not quite as legalistic, because Lewis leaves a lot of room for you to say no, and a lot of room for you to, like, stay in that middle ground, or then choose not to, and still continue to sin. Where Pilgrim's Progress is very much like, if you don't, you'll die.
That's fair.
So it's a little different, but yeah, same idea, I guess.
But yeah. So one of my favorite songs ever, and it will. I think it will. I found out about it when I watched Ningen Fushin. Is called "Never Fear" by Mao Abe, and that's basically the ending song for Ningen Fushin, and it's basically encapsulating the whole point of the series, in that you will find unity with those that you come across, and that's basically all it. And you'll eventually make it through whatever it is that is hurting you right now. And that's a lot of what this series about what Ningen Fushin is about. Is with the right people, you will make it through whatever is currently hurting you, and like I said, I love that. And there's a lot of it's kind of funny because as I was getting into this series, I actually fell in love with a lot of other series that also have similar ideas, such as the what is it called? Frick, why am I forgetting what it's called? To Your Eternity. To a certain degree, like, that is probably not the right example that I'm looking for, but To Your Eternity is basically about this orb that can transform into living beings, and when they die, and he is an immortal that basically goes through his life losing all of the people that he loves, and it destroys him, but he keeps finding people who will help him through a lot of this. And It's a very touching story, but it's also very, very intense, and you will probably be crying several times. Like one of the first people, like you will probably not cry for the first two deaths that he deals with. The first death is a wolf that just happens to die on him as he's laying in the snow, and then the other is a boy that happened to own the dog, and they as they basically walked through the snow to try and find a safe place, the boy died. Um, and like it's sad, but it's not like as sad as like many of the other deaths. Like there's a little girl who gets killed, and basically she was supposed to be a human sacrifice, and he stops it, but at the same but after even after he works so hard to save her, she's killed, and it's brutal. Yeah.
Oh.
There are other characters that sacrifice some other characters that sacrifice themselves for him and his friends. One of them is his name is Gugu. He's basically he has a fucked up. Yes, his name is Gugu. His face is completely fucked up, so he's wearing so he wears a dragon head stone figure, and he can breathe. And he has he has
just like
some alcohol in his stomach, which was used to keep him alive, and he can spit that out and breathe fire, basically. It's weird ass series.
Wow,
weird ass series, but at the same time, it's freaking hilarious.
You do realize that I suggested the book that includes a character who is made completely of goo. Weird is kind of in my wheelhouse. I'm currently reading a book by the same author of the character made of goo, where he's a ghost. They're all ghosts.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
But so To Your Eternity, great show. And it deals a lot with the struggles of losing people and stuff like that, because it's a series about an immortal, so of course it's going to be like that.
Well, yeah.
So To Your Eternity, great series. Absolutely, at some point watch it, or read it. Either one works. Speaking of series that have to do with an immortal, the currently the number one anime on my anime list, as far as I'm aware, and it will probably stay that way for a good while. Hard to say. Make sure I'm on top anime. Yep, still number one with a 9.3 out of 10 stars overall. Everyone who's watched this series. Frieren.
Diggity damn.
This is basically it is a long series about a elf who is basically she at one point went on an adventure to stop the demon lord, and she and her friends, all of her friends die, and she is left to wander the world basically alone, and kind of sort of
Sad.
Right before two of her friends, two of her friends are still alive, near the beginning of the series. One of them, basically, he asks her to take care of his basically adoptive daughter, named Fern, and she is also a mage, just like Frieren is, and and basically she basically raises Fern from childhood to an adult, all that jazz. They then meet the student of another one of her friends, who is a warrior. I'm forgetting what his name is right now. What is Stark is the name of the guy that they bring in. I'm not remembering what the dwarf. Eisen is the name of the dwarf. Who was his teacher. And basically, it's an adventure of all of them traveling for 10 years back up to the demon's castle so that she can see her friend one more time. Yes, It is so emotional, and a lot of it is basically showing her memories as she goes back through everything and remembers basically this guy that she didn't realize how much she loved him until he was gone. But he loved her
Aw.
from the moment he met her, and he was constantly telling her that, and it is so sad, but I love it. It is I it pulls at the heartstrings.
I'm the cat.
Stupid cats.
Ugh. Well, they insist on like not like. I keep swatting them when they try to get into my strings
Yeah.
and stuff that I'm using, and they don't care. I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
fuck off.
they do that.
This is a thing that I'm doing. I don't. This is not
Yeah.
me playing with you.
But yeah, you should absolutely at some point watch Free Run, read Free Run. I don't care which. It's like I said, read is more likely for you.
likely.
Watch is something that I recommend that at least everyone who is watching this at some point, please watch Free Run. It is so good. There is a reason that it has been a tradition for a while that the best anime of the season at one point will make it above the number one slot, which has been for a long time. Full Metal Alchemist, it has been the number one slot for years and years, and a lot of them will get to that point, and then by the end of the series, it will be it'll have dropped down, whether that be to a much lower level, or some of them have actually stayed in the top 50, I believe, but not many. Free Run has stayed at the number one spot for nearly a year now. If it is still at the number one spot in September, it will have stayed at the top of my anime list for an entire year, which is practically unheard of for a very long time. Basically, FMA has been at that spot for years and years, and this has somehow managed to keep that spot. And it's pretty common for I think the main reason that it is not a 10 out of 10 on the scoreboard is because some people are a little bit more specific with their rating and will say, "Oh, it's good. It's just it's not like the best thing in the world." And that's what which I mean, fair.
Yeah.
But that's it's insane how good of a series it is. For just
Yeah.
for evidence of what the Full Metal Alchemist is, it's at a 9.09 at this point in time. So that's a significant, and everything else below it is somewhere around that same level, 9.0 something. Like all the top 12 are all above 9. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, Free Run, one of the best series ever. Absolutely, you should watch it, or read it. Either one's fine with me. But yeah, it is not the number one manga. That honor is currently held by Berserk, which I don't see that changing anytime soon. But
Yeah. No.
to be fair, with the manga on my anime list, it's a very different animal, compared to anime. So there is that, and many of the manga are nowhere near the and yeah, actually, speaking of which, the comparatively, the manga on my anime list have way fewer people who are voting than anime. So, yeah. Yeah.
That's fair.
Like, granted, Free Run only has doesn't even have 1 million people who have rated it yet, compared to Full Metal Alchemist 3 million. So, but at the same time, remember, it's only been out for about a year. And it ended in March of this year. So, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it will be getting a second season, as far as I'm aware. There's very little reason for them to not do that. It's just a matter of time, because yeah, it's extremely popular. Um, Also, you should watch Oshinoko. And beyond that, I am not going to say anything. uh, well, okay, I'll say this. It is very much a series about the horrors of the film industry, specifically in Japan.
Okay.
As well as just media industry in general. And it's kind of weird, though, because it's kind of a murder mystery. But you wouldn't know that if you just read the first volume or watched the first episode, because the first episode / the first volume of the series is basically just about the two main characters' mother, as she is a idol, and it's basically all just explaining who she is and stuff like that. And basically, at the end of the first volume and the first episode, she dies. And that's why it's a murder mystery. So, yeah. And I'm not saying any more than that because I want you to watch it, or read it. Probably for you, it's going to be reading again. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of want to talk. I kind of want to tell you about some of the different Final Fantasies.
All right,
Fair
go for
enough.
it. This is your chance, bud. You have like
Fair enough. We don't have much time. We will be ending that this soon. All right, Final Fantasy IX, real quick, because it's the most important one. Everyone needs to play it. It is the best of all Final Fantasies. It is turn-based like Pokemon. You have 4 characters that you can have at a time. There is Zidane, there is Dagger, there is Vivi, there is Steiner, there is Eiko, there is Amrant, there is Freya, and there's Quana. Each of them have their own way of playing. Each of them are very fun characters. Zidane is pure manic, just absolutely insane. Love him to pieces. It is a love story between him and Dagger / speaking of which, Garnet, her real name is Dagger's real name is Garnet. Garnet and Dagger are the same person, so if I say one of them, that is who I am talking about. But absolutely love it. She is basically she and Eiko are both the last remaining summoners, which are basically these people who could summon these giant creatures that could cause huge amounts of destruction. And basically, her mom wants to take that power for herself and to use it to destroy the entire world. Meanwhile, there's this guy who is working with her, kind of, but is going to... and he wants to, again, destroy the entire world, but he's also the same species as Zidane. Zidane has a monkey tail. Zidane is the reason that the Salor in my books have tails. That is basically Zidane inspired the Salor.
Nice.
Yes,
Isn't that what I am
that is
in
correct.
your book?
So yeah, keep that in mind. Zidane is the inspiration, as well as, well, kind of sort of. He's not fully the inspiration, because I did think about the Salor beforehand, but he is really the reason why I fell in love with making the Salor, and why I wanted to make them as good as they possibly could. But yeah,
Apologies.
you're good. Absolutely, he is so funny. Constantly cracking jokes. At one point, Dagger and Zidane get married, quote unquote. Basically, in order to go to continue on the journey, you have to get your character has to get married. Zidane and Dagger have to get married in order to, because it's by the specific group of people, it's considered their honeymoon area, and you're not and you're not allowed to go there unless you're married.
So it's like a place to have sex?
Kinda, sorta, not really. It's not exactly explained. Also,
sure, yeah,
it is
sure.
the first well, maybe not the first instance, but it's one of the it is an instance where there is a non-binary character, and that is Quana. Quana uses she/he pronouns. Basically, in the
Alright.
book, or in the game, I should say, they often will do s/he whenever they're referring to them. And basically, pure chaos. Also love them. Basically, they are always hungry and want to eat everything.
I can dig it.
Especially frogs.
Okay.
But basically, the way that Quana's magic works is that by eating creatures after they have done their magic, they learn how to use said magic. So, like for an example, there's like a bubble attack. After seeing them do the bubble attack, they eat the creature, and then they can do the bubble attack.
So like Kirby.
Except it's permanent.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So,
Excuse me.
another thing about Final Fantasy VII, or about Final Fantasy IX, is that it was the game that had the most stealing involved. Steal has always been a pretty important skill throughout all of the Final Fantasies, but except for the MMOs, as well as a few of the later games. But early on, especially, and then in 9, it is one of the most important skills ever. You cannot get certain abilities in Final Fantasy IX, or certain items in Final Fantasy IX, unless you seal them. And it's kind of insane. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And there's a reason why Zidane is your main character. You basically, every time that you are playing as Zidane, you are stealing every single item from every single enemy. Because if you not get every single item before you kill before you kill the enemy, you are not getting that item. So, well, there
there's
is
no
looting.
looting
You
or
get loot
anything.
after the enemy dies, but a lot of items are only accessible if you steal them. So that's basically, yeah. So
Interesting.
always be stealing. It's extremely important. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this nerd chat. You have heard all of my.
Wow, what a way to end it. Always be... No, kids, don't always be stealing.
This is a game. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this nerd chat. I've been Electro Ninja. He's been Jack, and we will see you guys next time. But on.